How your first steps in real estate can shape your entire future with real estate. This is something that I wish I had learned when I started off, because it would have saved me probably 17 years and a bunch of headache, and probably made me a lot more money. So let's jump into this. If everybody's ready to get started, give me a good thumbs up in the group, in the chat. Just let me know that you're all here. Lisa, I see you. Thank you for the thumbs up. Lisa, I also got to talk to you. Okay, so let's get started. Before you invest, let's talk about it. You are a new investor or somebody that is getting started in real estate, and you're trying to figure out what moves to make. There are 50 million people telling you they can help you make billions of dollars. And so you're not sure who to go with. You're not sure who to listen to. I'm going to give you some sage advice that I wish someone had given me, and it makes a big difference. Your first strategy in real estate is one of your most important decisions. It's going to make the decision of how you make money and where you put your energy. When we start off in real estate, just like any other investment, we have all kinds of thoughts and all kinds of plans of what we want to do. And a lot of times we don't take the time to look at where we want to get to. We just know we're excited. We want to get started. We know it seems exciting. Everybody's talking about it, so we're not sure. You must weigh your resources against what is your desired income. There are tons of ways to make money in real estate, but you need to look at what resources you actually have and how those resources can get you to a desired outcome that you want. A lot of people don't even realize their desired outcome. They're kind of confused. So let's talk about that for a quick second. Our goal should be to make money. Now, I know that sounds to you like, oh, that's what everybody thinks. Our goal is to make money. You would be shocked how many people don't have this as their goal with real estate. And you say, how? How do they not have this as their goal? Well, it's very simple. Their goal could be to own property. They think that their goal is, I want to own a bunch of property. That is not your goal. Owning property can be a debt. Property can be a liability. Property can be something that costs you money every month and takes money out of your kid's mouth every month. So that's not the goal. The other goal is not to have a lot of tenants. Some people think that's the goal. Let's have a lot of tenants and let's own all this property. Again, that's not a really good goal, because that's not bringing us to where we want to be. You did not get into this business to have tenants. People often get sidetracked on these things like property and tenants and saying they own a bunch of doors. None of that matters. None of that matters. So you don't want to focus on those. You want to focus on what can get you the most money in the shortest amount of time. So your first strategy, what it must accomplish, these are what you should be aiming for with your first strategy. And I say this from experience. If you got a different point of view, I'd love to hear it in the chat of why you think you shouldn't do this, but I'm going to have a hard time believing it. Your first goal, your first strategy has only one goal for you. And that goal is to build you a cash war chest. You need to build a cash war chest of funds that you can use. Why do you need a cash war chest? Cash will fix your credit issues. Have you ever seen someone with a ton of cash that has bad credit? It doesn't happen, because it can fix your credit issues. Cash will open you up to larger investments. Everybody gets online and they say, oh, I want to get into commercial real estate. I want to get into these big, huge real estate investments. You can't get into those investments with no cash. You can do all of these deals. Even if you do a deal with no cash, you're going to be so highly leveraged that you're not going to be able to turn the kind of numbers that you want. You could do $1 million deal, and it's going to take so much of you carrying the note for the seller and doing all these things that you got to do to get the deal done, that you can end up making only $10,000 or $15,000 on $1 million deal. And that's not going to help you. You got to have cash starting out. Cash will give you reserves for emergencies. If you're somebody that says, I want to sit back as a landlord and own all this property, that's not a good look if you don't have reserves for emergencies. If you're a tenant, think of it from a tenant side. If you're a tenant right now, when you call your landlord and say, hey, this isn't working, they don't get to say, well, I don't have any money right now. I'll get it fixed later. They have to do something and get it fixed. Those take reserves. Those take them having money set aside. You need that kind of money, and the cash war chest is going to give you that kind of money. So that's why it's important. Your first strategy is always and should only be to get cash. You have the rest of your life to go get money from, other sources and do passive investments and all that kind of stuff. Your first strategy should be to get cash. Why QuickTurn makes sense as a first strategy. So if you all don't know, we teach a strategy called QuickTurn. QuickTurn is like, there's a variation of a thing called wholesaling. It is not wholesaling real estate. It is wholetailing. Wholetailing is when you are buying property and then you're selling that property without fixing it up. You make your money on just negotiating the deal, and you find a good deal, negotiate that deal, and then sell that property to somebody else. And it doesn't matter to who, but quick turn is a variation of wholetailing. It makes a lot of sense. And I'm going to go through a couple of reasons why this is a great first strategy. I wish quick turn had been my first strategy, because I would have been in a different place than I am now. But I'm not, you can't be sad about it. But it's at the same time, no one let me know. And now I'm here letting you know. So the quick turn strategy is made to make large sums of cash quickly. And I mean that in a way where it's not going to give you these $700, $800 cash flow months. It's going to give you large lumps of cash where you make $20,000, $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 every time you do a deal. And you're going to learn to do more than one deal at a time. So you're going to be doing simultaneous deals. By constantly buying and selling properties, you actually lower your risk. One of the biggest things that people risk when they're buying real estate is they buy a property and make these long-term plans of, I'm going to do this, and 20 years from now or 10 years from now, this property will be paid off and I'll have all this extra money from when I pay it off. The truth of the matter is a lot can happen in that 5, 10, 20-year period where the values can go down, tenants can tear up a property, you could have a fire or something like, there's all kinds of stuff that happens. And I know you got insurance and all that kind of stuff, but it's a real issue when things happen and they can affect what you're going to get out of the property. Quick turn protects you from the two biggest problems, especially when you're starting off. When you're starting off in investing, you don't know what you really don't know. So it becomes kind of difficult for you to say, hey, I know this is how I'm going to make money, because you don't know what you don't know. The two biggest fails that people have when they get into property is, one, they deal with contractors to fix and flip, and contractors will screw you over. Not that they're trying to screw you over, not all of them. Some of them will screw you over, but they do it a lot of times because you didn't set the guidelines when you set up with them. They will run off with money. They will run off with your material money. They will go do another job with the money that you paid them because they ran off with that person's money, and they just run off with the money. It's just a common thing. You have to find a team of contractors that work with you. And one of the big things about that is you don't know, and you're going to have to get burned before you find that team. So that's one of the big problems, especially if you're starting off and you got any kind of money behind you or anything like that. You're risking it because of the fact you're doing this fix and flip. The other one is dealing with tenants and evictions. Tenants and evictions can be costly. Tenants, when they pay, they're great, but it only takes 1 month of them not paying or one job loss or something like that. And I have nothing against tenants. I've had great tenants that I've worked with for years, and we've had a great relationship, and they moved out and it was a great relationship. But I've had a lot of tenants, and it doesn't even take a lot. It does not take a lot of bad tenants to really sour you to being a landlord. And that's the other thing you're going to avoid with quick turn. You're not going to deal with tenants. Quick turn meets your needs, giving you a large amount of cash, keeping you out of the way of contractors and tenants, and it's going to make it easier for you to make your money and do what you need to do. Now, why don't I suggest starting as a landlord? Because a lot of people come in and they say, well, I want to be a landlord, and I'm going to buy all these properties and it's going to make sense. I'm going to break down some very simple reasons why it does not make sense to start as a landlord. Nothing wrong with being a landlord, but it is not where you should start. The first thing is landlording, whether it's short-term, like Airbnb, whether it's midterm or long-term, it needs reserves. When you're doing short-term, you've got to clean properties up. People will damage your property because they have a party or something and don't take care of your property, and you got to pay for cleaning and things like that. Midterm right now in some areas is struggling really bad because of the fact that they have vacancies and people aren't moving as much as they were in the midterm. Midterm rentals are for people like professionals that need to stay in a town for a certain amount of time, and they'll rent it for a couple of months. Those need reserves too, because if you don't get those rentals, I just talked to a investor the other day who she was very frustrated because of the fact that she had midterms and she bought the property and nobody was renting her midterm. So she was forced to switch to long term, which changed her whole strategy and the amount of money she needs. And the long term was only allowing her to basically break even. She wasn't making a profit. You need reserves, cash in any of these scenarios. Landlording, people don't realize it, but it's actually 3 businesses. It's actually 3 businesses in one. You're going to be screening and finding tenants. That's a whole business in itself, how to screen and properly find tenants. You're going to be managing rentals and repairs. Managing and dealing with tenants and repairs is a whole business in itself. And you're going to be doing cleanouts and evictions and things like that go around with doing cleanouts of getting a property back ready. So you're going to be a contractor getting that property back ready for the next person. These are three businesses that you need to master just to be good or average at rental property. Profit from rental property is typically only above break even if you have no turnover. Now, I say that talking about single family and small rentals. If you got a 40 unit building, the numbers kind of work out differently. But again, you need cash to get into that 40 unit deal. But if your profits, if you got a single family, usually your profits are break even, or you make a little bit more. But if your tenant decides to move out, if your tenant decides to tear up the place, if you got to go through a lengthy eviction, all of that stuff can easily wipe out your profits as a landlord. Landlording is not passive. That's one of the other things. People think that I'll get a rental property and I'll basically put a tenant in it and I never have to deal with it. Landlording is not passive. It is an active investment and it has a low profit margin. So it's not something that you make a ton of money on, and you do have to be active because you have to take care of your tenants and take care of the property. You must still find, negotiate, and finance these deals. If you're buying rental properties, you're still going to have to find those deals. You're still going to have to negotiate those deals, and you're going to have to finance those deals. Those three pieces are most of the pieces that QuickTurn has. So if you got to do all of that, plus you got to do the screening and finding tenants, the managing the rentals, and the clean out, why create extra jobs for yourself for less money? It does not make sense. That's why I don't suggest starting off as a landlord. What about fix and flip? Let's talk about that. I don't suggest fix and flip because, for one, fix and flip profits are fixed. When you get into a fix and flip, let's say the property is worth $300,000 and you bought it for $100,000 and it needs $50,000 worth of work. So your profit should be $300,000 minus $150,000. That's $150,000 profit. But you've got closing costs and everything else. Not to mention, when you get into that property and start tearing out walls and doing repairs, a lot of stuff will surprise you. And there's stuff that once you expose it and once you open that wall, you're going to have to make those repairs. So it's going to cost you money. And every dollar that thing costs you, everything that surprises you, is coming out of your profit. Another thing, again, contractors can be difficult to work with. Until you get a team, a lot of times people get burned on their first 1, 2, or 3 fix and flip properties before they find a team that they can work with. And just because they find a team does not mean they're cheap, does not mean they're going to stay a good team. Sometimes good teams become bad teams all the time. Buyers of rehab properties expect the world. If you've ever had to sell a rehabbed property, your property in most cases has to be flawless, because people that have the credit and the money to buy a nice remodeled house at top of the market money expect that property to be flawless. They expect it to have no problems. And if it does have problems, well, they want you to fix it before they'll buy it. And all of that time that you're fixing it, all that time that you're paying the mortgage while you're waiting, that's costing you money and coming right out of your profit. So these are 3 reasons why I don't like fix and flip starting off. The other thing, fix and flip requires your time. It's very hard to scale and grow to doing more than one deal at a time with fix and flip because it costs a lot of money. You've got a lot of money out. You've got a lot of money sitting out on the rehab stuff and the contractors and everything else. It takes money and time. So you don't have time to go do another deal. In that time, let's say you can do a flip. Let's say you're fast. You can do a flip in 3 to 6 months. You're quick. That's considered quick. The market can change in that time. It's very common for the market to change, interest rates to go up, the purchase price, the demand goes down. People aren't looking to buy as fast. It's a long span between when you bought that property, when you finish it, and when you get the money from that property, when you get out of that property. That leaves a lot of time for stuff to mess up and kind of have a problem. And so you want to be careful with that. Rehabs can often have unexpected repairs, as I said before, eating up costs. You also have additional costs like utilities and longer holding costs. This stuff all comes out of your profit. Your best skill is not being used to make money with the fix and flip. If you're a contractor, you think, well, I'll do that stuff myself. I'll take care of it. That's not your best skill as an investor. As a contractor or as an investor, your best skill is negotiation. The better you can negotiate with someone and get a better deal, the less you have to put into that property and still make good money. So you're not using your highest and best skill. Even if you're a contractor, that's not your highest and best skill in this business. So let's talk about what you can do with that cash. You can accumulate cash and then invest it. The quick turn strategy that I talk about does a few things. One, it generates cash that you can then use to run the business. So you start off with using your money, but you can quickly get out of your money and actually use use the business's money to run the business. So you're not affecting your day-to-day money. It generates investment capital that can be used to reinvest in more homes. Not only is it going to make you the money to run the business, it's going to give you the money to reinvest and buy more properties and sell those properties and make more money. So this makes sense to everyone. Am I making sense? Let me know in the chat if this all makes sense to you, if you think this is useful. So another thing is it generates excess cash that can be used to invest in long-term investments. So the way we operate is we look at our investments as we use single-family houses that we quick turn and make a profit on, and then we take that money and we invest it into larger investments like commercial, mobile home parks, multi-unit buildings, anything that's a longer-term asset class that's a bigger. I want to get the most bang for my buck is what I'm saying. I want to get the most cash. If I'm going to have my cash out there, I want to get the most cash that I can for it. And I use the cash that I make from quick turning to buy into these larger investments. Okay. The long-term investments can be invested before you pay taxes. That's another beautiful thing about this. You can take the profits from these houses and you can actually invest it into long-term bigger investments, and you can defer the taxes. So you won't have to pay taxes on that money. You'll just take it and roll that money that would have gone to Uncle Sam into your next investment, and you can build an investment portfolio from this. So this is a huge deal. You can use this money to invest in commercial, take the cash, and you will have excess cash, which you can do to defer taxes, which is what I just talked about. So what this looks like at scale, let's talk about what this whole process looks like at scale. You would purchase single family properties. You would sell these properties without fix up, and still make a profit because your money is made when you negotiate the deal. You take your profit and you hire help, allowing you to grow faster, because there's two things that you should want out of this business. You should want money or cash, and you should want freedom to not have to sit there and do it all day. And after you do your first couple of deals, you should start to generate enough cash to hire people and give yourself some freedom. You can then take that excess cash that you have that you're continuing to make and invest it into longer term investments. You live from the cash that the longer term investments make, and you also have the cash flow that these small buildings, the single family houses, are making you, that you're investing into larger investments. At the end of this, you're going to have two businesses. You're going to have a long-term investment business that owns a portfolio of large properties, and you're going to have a short-term cash generating business that generates money for you to buy new investment properties. All of this is starting from a little of your cash and building your profits, if that makes sense. I'm glad you like it. You're going to have two businesses from this. And here's the best thing. I don't even touch on it, but I do want to touch on this. Let's say you get to a point you want to retire. You don't want to do this anymore. You're tired of buying and selling properties. Even though you can do all of that from your desk, you're tired of it, let's say for some reason. Because this business is set up to have employees and handle some of the heavy workload, you can actually sell your quick term business. You can actually find someone that wants to take over the business. See, when you have a business where you have to do all the work, you can't really sell that business because you're doing all the work, and no one wants to trade their money for your job, because that's what it is, essentially, your job. But when you do it in this way and you set up a business model where you buy properties and turn around and sell them quickly, it's not going to matter if the market is jumping up and down. Markets don't jump up and down in a couple of weeks. They jump up and down over a couple of months or a year. And we're going to sell our properties in a very short time. And that's going to let us kind of avoid the market. When the market is down. Okay, Aisha's on. So she's asking if anybody has questions while I'm talking. So thank you for that. It's going to allow you to buy these properties and sell them in a short time and do more deals. So when the market is up, you'll pay a little bit more, but you'll make a larger profit because the market is up. When the market is down, everyone knows the market is down, so you'll buy them at a cheaper price and you'll still sell them at a discounted price, but still make a good profit. Either way, you're not going to lose money here. It's a great investment. So again, if you've got credit and you've got a little bit of cash, we can talk about what it means to start investing this way and building a business this way. I can tell you, we started with, we did a little bit of money for marketing and we had decent credit, not great credit, not perfect credit, but we had decent credit. On the other side of this, if you have no money, you might have assets that have some money that you can pull out of. If you have a property that you can pull money out of to start investing. But the thing is, you don't want to pull money out of something just to invest without having a clear strategy and a clear plan, because you're risking your money. That's one of the other things that people make a mistake with. They get into a deal, or they get into excited about real estate. They say, I'm going to take some of my money from my house that has equity, or my retirement account, or any of these other things they have money from, and they don't have a solid plan of how they're going to invest. And that's how you lose money, because you're running around making all these mistakes. What I suggest is jump on a quick call with us. You can DM me or Aisha, or you can click on the links and you can jump on a call with us. We'll talk to you about what this means, how this works for you. We'll ask you some questions about where you're at and what it looks like, and we'll help you decide if this makes sense for you. If it doesn't make sense, we still have a lot of resources we share with you, and we try to get you in a position to still be able to get started. Because really, if you can't do it right now, the next best thing is to get one deal done. And once you get one deal done, that profit can then pay for doing the next deal and getting more set up. And so we have a lot of stuff with that. One of the things we do on our call is we can do a financing audit. We can look at where you're at. We can tell you what you need to do to get in position to qualify for financing. A lot of times it's not as hard as people think. They think they need these 800 credit scores. 800 credit score is great. You're going to get great terms. But if you don't have that score and you've got a lower score, maybe a 650, something like that, you still can get into this and do really well with it. So this is just some of the stuff we offer. We offer to help. Does anyone have any questions? Did I not touch on anything? This is how you build business. And everyone talks about, how do I start from very little? Or how do I start? I don't have the know-how. I don't have the credit and everything else. You have to start small and grow from there. If you need help, set up a meeting with us. We'll talk to you about what it means to start small. You do not have to have millions of dollars in the bank. It helps if you do, but it's not necessary at all to do this business and be successful with it. Even if you start off slower, okay, and we can get you going. It's not that complicated. It's not that hard. Don't make it more difficult than it has to be. You do have to be serious about this. This is a real business. This is not just something you do on the side. It's something that can replace your income if that's what you desire. It's something that can really take you to another level. I know me and Aisha, when we started this and we kind of got going, we didn't know what to expect, and we tried a lot of different things, but this really worked well for us. I want to thank you guys for being on this live. I want to thank you guys for being in the group. I hope we share information that you all find valuable. We got big plans of everything we're doing in 2024. We want you guys to come along with us, and we've got some great things to show you. I hope this has been good for you. And until next time, happy holidays. Oh, thank you, Carmen. Happy holidays to you guys. Talk to you later, and we will see you in 2024.